It didn't take long for my predictions to come true, and now Steam is showing just how far it is willing to bend the knee thanks to runaway, empowered staff. Earlier this year, I was lambasted by the good and morally consistent for my defense of creative freedom and fighting collective shout on Steam's censorship. I did what I could do to spread as much information as possible, but since then, things have only gotten worse. We had a Hail Mary of sorts, but the taxman has not come to collect on that yet, but soon. So the skinny? President Trump issued an executive order saying financial institutes must get rid of their vague language that leads to debanking. Some argued it did not apply to the networks, but it absolutely does, as they are a financial institute, getting benefits of being called such, and are part of the banking process. I went through and found most instances of creative protections and game-related rulings under the Supreme Court, but we'll see what happens. In the meantime, what's happening here? Steam was in a small battle with a game group, and what they just said is exactly what we were trying to prevent from happening. The snowball of censorship has now run away from people and is out of control. Aftermath Red Pine Lake has bravely stood against them and thankfully released the conversations. The crime for why they can't launch their game? Regardless of what a woman wears, a woman's backside is just sexual in nature. Ignore the sexual words and titles, and ignore literal sex with games. Ignore sex with Hitler time games. Ignore AAA titles that use women's backsides on the covers. We have regressed since before the 90s, and soon it will be too problematic to even have women at all in games, according to these platforms that bend to the will of censorship. How did we get here, though? Collective Shout takes credit for Steam engaging in censorship by beseeching Visa and MasterCard since Steam did not want to listen. For some reason, Steam decided to adjust their terms and service to support the vague language of their payment processor providers. Keep in mind, payment processors are actively also trying to get into the esports industry and profit off of gaming while censoring it. Collective Shout is tied to the Australian government because of Melinda Tankard-Reist, who was on the AgeGate verification software trial shareholder board. Which company will be performing the age verifications? Why, KID, of course. The very same KID on the American Interest Group FOSI board, the very same FOSI that Julie Inman Grant, the American transplant in Australia who became the e-safety commissioner, is on, and that is the very same Julie who was praising GARM for their proactive censorship of Trump. Yes, that GARM that folded within 24 hours of Elon Musk suing them for advertiser manipulation, which then rebranded under Dentsu. The very same Dentsu that was questioned by Jim Jordans about the advertisement conglomerate, to which they assured they were not going to do what GARM did. Press X to doubt. And yes, this is the very same Dentsu that prided itself on teaching Pokemon and the Oreo company about the magical world of artificial scarcity, which is why you couldn't find your favorite Pokemon in the Oreo package, because they knew you'd go back and buy more Oreo packs if they were RNG. Which makes you wonder, what does this group really do? Because if no one could organically think of that in-house for Pokemon or Oreo, I think we have bigger problems with the educational pipeline, not just in America, but globally. So you see how this becomes a problem very quickly. We have to stand up and say no to censoring butts and women so that way we can get our Pokemon and Oreo promos. I'm kidding, but we do have to stand up to censorship here so that way people committing crimes, like I suspect Julie Inman Grant is doing along with everyone else, violating antitrust laws globally, can actually get investigated and reminded that they have no power. Either that, or we all just sit back and laugh because the left, which is the only side super aware of women being sexual in nature while pushing women to OnlyFans and not getting married, is now saying Sharia law is for the girlies. That's right. Steam staff are saying the backside of a woman is inherently sexual, and foreign women in the UK are pushing Sharia law. The world has indeed gone bonkers. Anyway, this particular instance had a very happy ending, but how many other devs have just bent the knee? How many rogue employees are there pushing a little too hard on censorship? How many more people have been quiet or not been able to go viral? It is because of this, I really think we need to start backing off of Steam slowly. I understand that people have built up libraries, and it's not fair to ask them to just stop playing their favorite games. I know I would struggle with it, especially because it's the only place that I've got RimWorld for right now. I really think, though, that in order for things to change, we just have to keep talking about this. Even though we can be super happy for the group who did win, we still need to keep going. We still need to use the words that Steam allows its staff to push. We have to keep on and never let up, because for every person who we do manage to get a win for, there's probably 100 more that we didn't. And in their honor, we have to keep the conversation going.